Hello, everybody. I'm Meso and Eljay.
And I'm LJ.
And streaming to you from a golden beach, this is Knack and Jay. Hello! How are you all doing?
I cannot believe that worked.
How come?
Because it failed again. I just didn't make any audible noise. But I still had like a preset that it had saved. So I just used that again, and it actually worked that time on time.
Nice.
So
That's pretty great.
I actually made it. And I don't know
Congratulations.
how. Friggin' brute forced my way.
I love it. Absolutely brilliant. Do we need to change the thumbnail on YouTube, or did it actually save?
I think it's good.
It's saved. Sweet.
Yeah.
We have a returning face this week. The man who is quickly shaping up to be on more Knack and Jays than he was TTV podcasts. the only Kini Hawkeye.
Woo! 2 more episodes and I will break my record.
Wait, really? We only ever had 4 episodes TTV?
No, he was on much more than that.
Just being self-deprecating.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no.
Well, hello. How are you doing, Kini?
I'm holding up. Woke up this morning with a stomach bug, so that's been fun to deal with. Not Corona, so that's good. I don't drink that beer.
Not Corona.
Corona.
Not Corona. Yeah.
Epic song.
Awesome.
Well, we have a lot to talk about today. This is jam-packed. So let's cut right into it before we talk about our usual topic. Hit us with some plugs.
Okay. So, if you want to join in on the discussion and a bunch of other fun things, head on over to the TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. Whole slew of interesting things happening over there. Need to be 13 years or older to join and read our rules. However, we're currently gearing up for the first of many visualization canonization contests, the first of which is going to be for Helrix, and that starts on June 1st. Additionally, LEGO author Greg Farshty is there answering your questions. So definitely head on over there and check that out. Additionally, our Patreon, patreon.com/TheTTV channel. Donate as low as $1 a month. You can join our TTV Discord server and our Minecraft server, where you can explore the islands of Mata Nui and Voya Nui with many more to come. Additionally, make sure you head over to Twitter at the TTV channel, at Mesonac, and at the LJ Johnson, JOHNSEN. And finally, BioCup 2020, that has begun. Definitely check out a video we made on that subject about BioCup 2020. There are links to it in the description below. It is on Flickr. It is a BIONICLE mock contest, so you should definitely check that out. It's going to be a blast and just a bunch of fun no matter what. And that's it.
I love it.
It's everything.
Very nice. Kini, do you have anything of yours we should plug?
No, I've been quarantined and my life is boring, and therefore nothing exciting is happening. There are things in the works, but they are not ready at all to be plugged.
Got it. Well, when they
Hashtag no plug.
When they are, let us know. And if you're back on again, we'll plug you.
Awesome.
So, this is going to be a rather comprehensive episode. A lot of ground is going to be covered in this episode. It is more or less a direct follow-up to another Knack and Jay we did, which, I mean, I guess if you're watching this, it's too late, but if you're ever curious, you can go back and listen to it after the fact. It was called Quest for Mata Nui and Copyright Concerns. And it is going to, that episode was about the Quest for Mata Nui fan game that was recently announced almost exactly a month ago. I think it was on April 20th.
It was April 20th when it was announced.
So we're one day off from the 1 month anniversary of the announcement. And a lot of stuff's gone down since then. Before we get into that, because I will be giving you guys a retrospective, just to catch y'all up to speed. LJ, you have something you'd like to kind of open this with,
Yeah,
right?
I want to set the tone for this episode.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
Yes.
So go for it.
So on Twitter, on April 20th, I said, I had tweeted out, "Just today, I have seen how the legacy of BIONICLE Next Generation has affected the community in 2 completely different ways. For as divisive of a project as it was, it has certainly changed the landscape in big ways even to this day. A lot of people were asking for me to elaborate on that. What's BNG? What do you mean by that? To recap, sorry, I couldn't resist. BIONICLE Next Generation was a fan project way back in the years of 2011-ish, 2012-ish, along those lines. And it set out to make an animated film for basically everything in BIONICLE. Remake the original 4 films, make a movie for Dark Mirror, make a movie for Ignition, make one for etc., etc., etc. Make a movie for everything. And it was going to be 3D animated, and they had a bunch of other stuff included, and it was a very ambitious project. So, us being kids, we all looked at that, and we were like, wow, that's super exciting. We really like this idea. Can we help? And we could, and we joined it. And the project really wasn't going anywhere. They bit off way more than they could chew. They made a lot of public promises. And because some of us were in the project, we were trying to help out. And in trying to help out, funnily enough, we were kind of... It was... it was a very difficult process because, see, I was brought on as a canon consultant. And what that role was, it was to basically say, all right, so you're making this, but you want to make it as close to canon as you can, so here's what that kind of looks like. And along the way, they wanted to make Takanuva an Anika build. I was like, well, he's not. That doesn't happen. The growth spurt happens when he hits Mata Nui. The only actual physical transformation is that his armor goes from white and gold to white and gunmetal gray. And so they didn't like that. And I mean this sincerely. It was done in an appropriate manner. It wasn't like, hey, idiot, why are you making Takanuva an Anika build? Moron. You shouldn't do that, dummy. Obviously, it was not done that way. I can say that with absolute certainty. And so they were not appreciative of that. And I was like, well, okay, nothing else is happening. You're just making 3D models. So we were very public about our critiques and our criticisms of BNG. And eventually that led to a lot of people in the project going, hey, yeah, nothing's happening. We bit off way more than we could chew. We're out. And the project crumbled. It just fell to pieces. A bunch of their animators, their 3D modelers, scriptwriters, a bunch of their staff left. And so the project basically shuttered. The reason I tweeted out saying that I saw two things that happened from that day was because, one, Kini Creations, the guy who is in charge of Bionicle Quest for Mata Nui, he's former BNG. He worked on the project. I think he was an animator. And he was trying to do some pretty innovative stuff. He tried to keep the project going after the shuttering happened. He really tried to do something creative. He had a 2D animation that was really fantastic, and he really tried to keep things afloat. The other reason I said that is because earlier that morning, I had conversations. I think Meso, were you there for them?
I was there.
Okay, we had a conversation with RSG, Red Star Games, about their involvement in the Bionicle canonization contests that we're privileged to be hosting over on the TTV message boards. And they had a perspective that Meso and I didn't entirely agree with that would essentially shut them out of the contest entirely. And that frustrated us because we wanted them to be involved, because we're fans of RSG, because we like what they make, and we wanted them to have a presence. The whole point of the contests is to rejuvenate the Bionicle community and to be as inclusive to as many different facets of it as is possible. One of their members, who I'm not going to specify, because that is a rude thing to do, one of their members essentially said no. And this member is not a head of the project. They are a higher up staff member of the project, but they're not the direct head of it. And they essentially made the decision, no, we're not going to be involved unless you do this, then we're just staying out of it entirely. Stop trying to convince us otherwise. We're not going to hear it. And it was very frustrating because this person was also a former member of BNG. And to see them do that to RSG and really, in our opinion, just shut them out of a really big community event was super disappointing. It was really, really disappointing. And so to see these two former members of BNG have such differing effects on the community in such... What is that noise?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. In such vastly different ways, to me was super fascinating. So, that's the setup there. That's the explanation for that tweet. Going forward, and coming back to what I said earlier about BNG. BNG, again, it shuttered in large part because we were very vocally critical of the project. People were like, hey, those are some fair points. They were not well structured, as in, like, they were very harsh. They were very cruel and critical. But people agreed with it, and they left the project. And it shuttered the whole darn thing.
You made an L rant, Jay.
Yes, thank you. The way we made those back then was not appropriate. It was not helpful to anyone. It was made purely out of a frustration bred from our involvement. And while we agreed with what we said, the way we said those things was wrong. So the reason why I'm telling you all this is to make absolutely certain everyone understands we're not doing anything of that sort, of that nature. Nothing like what happened then is going to be done today. Today is not an El Rant Jam. It's not a Meso rant knack. I don't know. It's not a teardown or an expose of Kini or his game. It is in no way an attempt to make anyone in that project feel as though they have done anything wrong, as if they have done anything that they should be ashamed of, or in any way attempt to convince them that they should not continue with this project. This project is great. This is going to be such a fantastic end result, and it has done nothing but breed good interest and excitement into the community. And everyone who is excited for this game should continue to be massively excited for this game, because it looks fantastic. The work that has gone into it...
We're excited for the game. We want to play it.
The work that has gone into it is still so fantastic. There's so much work that's gone into it. It is, at the end of the day, a massive net positive. We made it. We said last time we're gonna have two cakes. We're gonna have Masks of Power, and we're gonna have Quest for Mata Nui. And maybe, heck, we might even have a third cake. BIONICLE Legend of Mata Nui, the unreleased LEGO game. We're still getting the cakes. They're still going to be awesome cakes. What we're going to be here today to do is to explain what has happened, the timeline, and explain to Kini, if he listens to this, where we feel things might have gone askew, and just hopefully elaborate on what we saw so that they might be lessons moving forward so that no other issues from the public can arise and everyone can just continue to look forward to the great work that they're doing.
It's the fine line between a discussion and a hit piece, because, like, when if someone's doing a hit piece, it's like you want to take someone down. You want them, they've done wrong, and you want to expose them so they are made to suffer for what they did, and so they fail. You know, it's like it's not what we're all about. Because if Kini fails, then the community is robbed of a cool BIONICLE game.
Yeah,
I don't really think that makes anyone happy.
No, that doesn't do any. That is no good comes out of that. This game not happening.
There's nobody in the community who would benefit from that.
No, not at all. No one. Like, everyone here wants to play it. We think it's awesome. We are so excited.
That being said, we're also community members. We're also people who have, unique sets of opinions and thoughts and how things have gone down. And like LJ said, there's a level of feedback that we almost feel obligated to give, partially to Cranny and partially just to the community at large who might see this.
Yes. And there are lessons to be learned here. It's a very unique situation, but there are some lessons that you can walk away from going, all right, that's good to know. So consider this not only a direct sequel to our video about the project we made a month ago, but consider this also a little bit of an addendum to one we made about BIONICLE fan projects and how to do those.
It's like a part 2, but to 2 Knack and Jays, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
The sequel.
The epic double sequel.
Knack and Jay fan projects too. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, we're not a hive mind, so our opinions may differ slightly, but I think we're all generally on the same page about this.
Yes.
So, without further ado, now that that's over, thank
Super
you
chats.
for setting the tone. Yeah, super chat.
Yeah, sorry. Real quick, couple of super chats. First one from Noel BIONICLE, and his username gets cut off. He donated $2.99 with a pair doing a fist bump, which I feel is tonally fantastic.
I love it.
The other one,
a pair? I thought that was a bird.
no, I think it's a pair. A pair with a face. Noel BIONICLE and Transformers. Additionally, Noah Cook donated $2, who said no notes, just like you guys work. Thank you. And then Noel BIONICLE and Transformers gave another $2.99 with a message, I like wasting money.
Bruh!
My spirit animal.
It's not a waste
Thank
to
you.
us. Thank you.
It helps a lot. I
It does.
appreciate the thought, guys.
It legitimately does, because every remixed review I've made, I've had, except for 2004's, I've had to make Bricklink orders for. And the money that goes into the Bricklink orders comes directly from the channel. So it is sincerely appreciated. It does go to making those videos.
Also, LJ is starving and living in an igloo made out of BIONICLE pieces, and therefore he needs as much help as he can get.
I'm cold. I'm very cold.
Starving artist LJ.
It's summer and he's cold, guys. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
So,
let's get started.
what I want to do real quick is I want to give you all a little brief rundown of what exactly has gone down. So, a month ago, Quest for Mata Nui is announced, and everybody goes insane, us included. We immediately put out a video. I'm freaking out about it. Then we put out a podcast, and we're freaking out about it. Generally speaking, it's incredible. Basically, nobody has any bad words to say about it. Media sites start reporting on it. Some people just report on it. Some people actually contact Cranny and's like, hey, let's interview you, and he does. The BIONICLE community just gets lit into a fervor. And that's basically how it goes for a while. There's always that prevailing general aura of skepticism around a project of this status even getting released, A lot of people are like, I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but pretty much everybody wants it to. And now the biggest thing that was a concern back then was the threat of DMCA and copyright from LEGO. People were like, will LEGO take this down? It's a big fan game that's getting media attention. Are they going to, file a copyright on this? And the general verdict was, you can never be 100% sure, but we're 99% sure the answer is no. And that's the project team and also us, for what it's worth. We don't believe that LEGO would do that. We did a whole video on it. We were like, yeah, it's not going to happen. LEGO's typically very chill about fan projects. The only time they've ever even stepped in was on Shapeways and the Kickstarter BIONICLE Mata Nui online game. And for Shapeways, they just wanted people to take the BIONICLE name off of the listings. That's very minor. They left the listings up.
Well, they wanted, you're right, yeah.
So that was the main thing that had to be discussed. But eventually, people kind of chilled out with that, and it subsided into just general hype for the project. And then, about 10 days after the game came out, some people in the community started to discover a few things on the web, on some websites on the internet. Namely, they discovered that Quest for Mata Nui appeared to be a mod for the video game Starcraft 2, managed by Blizzard, developed by Blizzard. And this was shown in a number of ways. Namely, they found a profile page by Kini on the website ModDB, which showed some other games of his that looked remarkably similar, that used very similar animations, namely a Transformers game. Then they found a page from him on like a StarCraft 2 map design website talking about his engine, which he called the Metra engine, which was running off of the StarCraft 2 game engine. And it again featured very similar visuals to BIONICLE Quest for Mata Nui. And the final post in the topic about the Metra engine was literally a picture of Takoro. So people found this out, and generally it became kind of an open secret in the community over the last 20 days or so, 21 days. Yeah, fair point, Prentice. 10 days after the game was announced. It was after the trailer came out. My bad. Game is not out yet. It became kind of an open secret, and it started spreading around in various communities. People were speculating about it. They were like, what does it mean? People were like, well, how about we just go ask Kini? Some people asked him outright in his Discord server. Some people messaged him privately. It's like people were essentially just trying to get confirmation because nobody likes rumors and speculation. People would ask in the Discord server, and they'd receive no reply. So they kept digging. And an interesting thing was found out about the Transformers game he had worked on, namely that it was put up on the StarCraft 2 custom games area and was actually taken down by Blizzard. And they said, hey, go contact Hasbro, the third-party IP holder for Transformers. So Kini contacted Hasbro. He asked for permission, which is what Blizzard told him to do. They said, we can't really grant special permissions like that. We can't really grant permission. And so based on that, Kini made the decision to discontinue the game since Blizzard took it down and the IP holder would not give permission. So he stopped working on the Transformers mod. This worried people. This worried people a lot over the last month and a half because suddenly the threat of DMCA that people had talked about endlessly on Lego's side of things and dismissed as not being a possibility suddenly seemed pretty likely because the game, from all this evidence, didn't seem to be wholly original, wholly standalone. If it was a StarCraft 2 mod, it would necessitate StarCraft 2 to function. If it was going to have multiplayer, as was promised in the interviews in the Discord, as was touted in the reveal trailer, it would need to run that multiplayer on Blizzard servers via the StarCraft 2 custom games. Would Blizzard allow a third-party game, or rather a game based on a third-party IP, on their service running multiplayer off their servers, especially when it had gotten such mainstream media appeal and coverage? And people started getting scared a little bit because, based on the Transformers example, the answer was no, because Blizzard took it down. So, the month rolls on with this being basically an open secret and people getting more and more skittish about the fact that this wasn't being discussed publicly. This wasn't being confirmed. Requests to confirm it and put an end to the rumors were being ignored, which for a lot of people was as good as confirmation,
Mm-hmm.
And people just generally started getting a little worried about even casting support behind the project. Number one, because a lot of people didn't like the fact that it wasn't being disclosed. And number two, because a lot of people started to get a little nervous that it ever would happen now. Because they'd spent the last week and a half talking about how crazy DMCA is. We were one of them, only to then be confronted with the reality. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe it is pretty likely. But generally speaking, the pervasive air in the community was, let's just wait for Craney to confirm it one way or the other. You know? And we waited. And we waited and we waited. We knew about this pretty early on. TTV, we knew about this basically the day it was revealed in the community, which was about 10 days after the trailer came out. So about end of April, we knew. And we've been sitting on it for weeks. We've made allusions to it in prior videos.
Yeah, because it's hard not to. Because we sat on it for a few reasons. We're not the only ones that knew, of course. Like, we're in a chat with...
It became a pretty big thing.
Yeah, but we sat on it not because we were like, all right, we're going to cancel him any second now. Go ahead, step out. It's because you can't just find out about something and then just go, guys, did you just hear? You have to let things ride out a little bit. And sometimes you find out about something and it's just not appropriate to talk about it because it's not going to do anything. You have to make sure things run their course, or that your timing is appropriate so that it is either the most effective it can be at for why you're disclosing that, or it's...
We've had internal discussions about whether we wanted to do it or not.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. There were pros and cons. I didn't want to talk about it, number one, because I felt like it's the kind of thing that would better be served coming from the project's head.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to be the one to do it. And number two, because I still think it's an awesome project. I don't care that it's based in Starcraft 2. That quite literally means nothing to me. I still want it to come out. So to do basically an expose on it and to break the news, it would propagate this narrative that we don't like the project or are trying to sabotage it or whatever, which isn't true. We just really, really wanted the truth out there so people could set their expectations accordingly. We had already done the mental gymnastics. We had done the calculations on this. Kini is somewhat of an expert, or at least more so than we are, in Blizzard and Blizzard practices in the games. That's why he's here. He'll get to say his piece eventually. We talked about it in private a lot, and we already deduced a lot of stuff from it. The risks of copyright, the risks of takedown, custom games versus not. Will multiplayer be feasible? Which we all basically concluded, no, it's not going to be. So we were understandably worried, but we were like, let's just wait and see if Craney comes out and says it. And he did. He did yesterday, May 20th. About 20 days after people started to figure out about it and ask him about it.
1 month after the project was revealed.
1 month, which it could be a lot worse. It could have been when the game came out. He could have just dropped it on everybody and been like, hey, you need StarCraft 2. But he didn't. It was a month after. It could be worse. So here's the facts. BIONICLE Quest for Mata Nui, if you don't know, no longer has a multiplayer component. That has been indefinitely shelved. In his update, Craney said he stopped working on it completely. That's not to say it never will come back, he said. That's not to say he might not work on it as a post-launch feature, but it will no longer have a multiplayer component. Likewise, he confirmed the game is a StarCraft 2 mod, although he didn't use the word mod. He prefers to call it a game made in the StarCraft 2 engine. We'll get into that later, but pick your poison, tomato, tomato, and that you will need StarCraft 2 and Battle.net to run it. Now, StarCraft 2 is a free game. It's also a 30-gigabyte game, so plan accordingly. And if you want to know a benchmark of whether your computer can actually run Quest for Mata Nui, there it is. Use that as your benchmark.
Yeah. Also, just to put it in perspective, 30 gigs for a game, that's like one update for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's like, it's not that bad. you know it's bad when that starts trending on Twitter.
30 gigs.
Like
yeah,
that, like their last update, which added, I think, 2 new playlists, was 30 gigs.
30. It's so
for
bad.
2 playlists. It's amazing.
So that's what was announced yesterday, and that it kind of brings this saga to a close. That catches you all up more or less on the situation. Let's talk about our thoughts on the matter. I can say my thoughts pretty concretely. I do not think it should have ever gotten to this point where it had to come out in this manner. I do not think it should have gotten to the point where most of the community knew what was going on before the dude actually just spoke about it. I think it should have been disclosed when the project was announced, because the implication that was given, even though technically it was only ever said once on his Discord, he didn't necessarily use his wording in media interviews, standalone game. It gave the impression that it was a standalone game. It gave the impression that it was completely built from the ground up, scratch, custom engine. It would run as like a quest for Mata Nui.exe file. It would be a completely original game. But it does run off the StarCraft 2 engine. It will launch Kini, via like a map editor. That's gonna launch.
Well, okay. So, given the fact that he's removed the multiplayer aspect because he's not going to be putting it up in the StarCraft 2 arcade, the most likely scenario, based on what I understand, I will admit that I have not been huge into the StarCraft modding scene since the original StarCraft 2 came out. Basically, it's going to be a file we download. You have to put it in the right directory, and once it's in there, you're able to load up the game, and you'll be able to access it via your custom games browser within StarCraft 2.
Okay. Got it. So the main points of contention have been, from a lot of people, kind of shocked. People who didn't expect this, people who weren't in on the secret. It kind of caught them off guard, especially the 1-2 punch of multiplayer being gone. And people have been kind of upset. They feel... I've seen the refrain going around of like, Craney lied. Craney did such and such. And there's like grains of truth. I don't think it's necessarily like that. I don't think there was any malice involved, or that he was trying to pull a fast one on the BIONICLE community necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's multiple speculative reasons one can guess as to why he didn't disclose this from the start, none of which we know for certain because none of us are Craney. It's my guess that it would be something along the lines of just he didn't want people to look down on it because it was a mod. He's been very against using the word mod because he feels that the work he's put into it is above that title. He feels like it's a disservice to call it a mod because a lot of it's original. The great majority of it is original, except for a few sound effects and VFX, according to him. So he says at that point, a quote he's used in the past has been, it's no different than making a game in Unreal or whatever. So he probably, just guessing, felt that if he came out and said, hey, this is StarCraft mod and you'll need StarCraft to run, people wouldn't treat it with the respect it deserves. Maybe. We'll never know for sure, probably. But I don't think it was some evil grand plan, because, it's not like he's in this to get rich or something, or coast on the BIONICLE community. It's like he's doing this not for profit, no donations. It's a passion project.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he really gains anything from it except an audience to play his game, which, I'd want that too.
Yeah, if you create content to a point, you want it to be seen. Like, of course, you want to have fun doing it. Like, we all make videos. We like making videos. That's why we're here making them still. But yeah, of course, we'd like our effort to be seen. We want to share it with people.
We make it for it to be seen and consumed by people. So I'm sure he's the exact same way. That being said, I don't want to demonize him for it. That doesn't mean I think it's okay either. Mm-hmm. I think it should have been straight from the beginning. This is made in StarCraft 2 engine. This will need StarCraft 2 to run. And I mean, people can connect the dots there and realize all the copyright things for themselves,
No,
multiplayer, etc.
we should get a little into that because that is something Ven touched upon in his video, was the terms of service concerns, and I think Kini, you could
Yes.
elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
Because
So
you were one of the biggest anti-DMCA people. So where does this factor in?
Okay. So, the last Knack and Jay that I was on, we talked about the DMCA and the way that Lego handles things. And it's basically a situation of there's no money involved, we don't care. Blizzard has a different take. And there's a bit of history behind it that, maybe your average Bionicle fan or the average listener here might not know. So I'll go into it super briefly here. But basically, if you've heard of Dota 2, the short version of the story is that Dota 1 and Dota 2 are the reason Blizzard has a strict policy on their custom games. It's not a policy that's usually enforced, but the long and short of it is that Dota was made in Warcraft 3's editor and became popular as a custom game for Warcraft 3 in a very similar way to how Quest for Mata Nui is going to work. The end result of that was that Blizzard lost out on hundreds of millions of dollars by the time Dota 2 became a thing. I mean, look at the International is one of the largest esports tournaments in the world, with regular prize pools of the tens of millions of dollars.
Bruh, I didn't even know that.
How?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's tens of millions.
It's insane. So basically, Blizzard lost out on all of that, and therefore their custom game acceptable use policy is different than Lego's acceptable use policy, right? In essence, in the Quest for Mata Nui server, what gets brought up a lot is Clause 1, which basically states, I'm going to try and, explain the legalese here, but custom games are and shall remain the sole and exclusive property of Blizzard. Without limiting the foregoing, you hereby assign to Blizzard all of your rights, title, and interest in and to all custom games, including but not limited to any copyrights in the content of any custom games. If for any reason you're prevented or restricted from assigning any rights in the custom games to Blizzard, you grant to Blizzard an exclusive, perpetual, worldwide, unconditional, royalty-free, irrevocable license enabling Blizzard to fully exploit the custom games or any component thereof for any purpose and in any manner whatsoever. That's an expert because it goes on and becomes more legalese as it goes. It sounds really bad. It's the one that gets brought up the most because it's the quote-unquote ownership clause. Essentially what it means is that if you create something wholly original in the Galaxy editor, the way that Craney is making the game, Blizzard owns it. And if there's third-party content within it that you don't have the ability to sign ownership over to Blizzard for, they own your game and everything in it. This clause is not actually the one that causes a problem for Quest for Mata Nui, though. The clause that causes a problem, most likely, would be clause number 3, which is the use of third-party content in custom games. You represent and warrant that neither the content you use to create or incorporate into any custom games, nor the compilation, arrangement, or display of such content, collectively the user content, infringes or will infringe any copyright, trademark, patent, trade secret, or other intellectual property right of any third party. You further represent and warrant that you will not use or contribute user content that is unlawful, tortious, defamatory, obscene, yada, on and on and on and on. In the event that Blizzard learns of the existence of a third-party claim related to a custom game, Blizzard reserves the right to remove or block the custom game from any Blizzard-owned platform. Basically, that's the one that's the problem, because the entire game is third-party content. Now, technically, the assets are made on their own. They're not made directly by Lego. They're modeled by people in the community, etc., etc., etc. But the entire game is based on a third-party IP. This is the reason multiplayer is not a thing. At least best as we can assume, outside of a justification of it being an artistic decision, this would be the reason, because the multiplayer component would require putting the game onto the arcade. The arcade is a Blizzard-owned platform. Doing so means that this clause comes into effect, and Blizzard can enforce it. I have heard people say that Blizzard does not generally enforce it. That being said, I did take a little jaunt through the StarCraft 2 arcade yesterday, in preparation for this video, and the vast majority of so-called third-party IP-related maps or custom games within the arcade are, for example, Lord of the Rings maps, where the actual terrain made in the game is designed after the map of Middle Earth, but everything that's part of the game, all of the units, all of the models, all of the design, everything is from StarCraft. This is a different situation that doesn't apply to that, and so most likely what would happen is a very similar situation to Transformers, where Blizzard goes, "Hey, do you have permission? Because if not, we're not going to let you host it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it should be said, Trainee, the reason that he is given for why multiplayer is going to be axed from this game is it's an artistic decision. The core of the multiplayer experience has been working and tested for a long time now. However, the multiplayer aspect of this game has its roots in the very early development of BQFMN, where the concept of the game was still much different and much smaller. The more I advanced, the more I realized the multiplayer aspect doesn't really fit with the rest of the vision of BIONICLE Quest for Mata Nui, and I'm starting to see it's holding the game back overall. It's designed to be a single-player RPG. Gameplay-wise, the multiplayer didn't fit. The removal of this feature will come as a disappointment, but I can tell you you're probably not missing out on as much as you might think. In most multiplayer sessions, the different players would often just resort to exploring the world on their own anyways. So this is one of those awkward situations, because everything he said, the things he said so far say multiplayer's removal was purely artistic. He just didn't feel like it fit his vision. And it's difficult for me to maneuver around that because I'm not really in the business of calling him a liar. You know what I mean? Like I said at the start, we all support him. We want him. We want to see this project come out. We don't really want to degrade his character or whatever. However, every piece of research that I've done, every piece of research that any of us have done, we think that it really comes down to the custom games thing. It really comes down to legality, legalese, where the game will be hosted that would decide multiplayer. The moment that this was revealed to us, a days spent discussing it later, we were like, yeah, multiplayer's gone. Because the only way he could potentially dodge this situation and dodge the legalese and dodge, clause 3 and all that is to not put this up on the custom game store and to instead have it run, offline, basically, just through StarCraft. At that point, Blizzard can't take it down because it's not up anywhere to be taken down from. You know what I mean? It's not like it's on their services. And Lego probably won't take it down. I mean, they could, but they probably won't for the aforementioned reasons we discussed in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And just to kind of bookend the multiplayer discussion in a way, because it's really just, it's not the main point of the discussion at all. But the multiplayer, I buy the artistic vision thing. Like, I buy making it and then going and figuring, hey, you know what, like, this isn't going to work the way I want it to. That being said, multiplayer is built into StarCraft. Like, very, very simple thing to add. So, at least he hasn't said that it was a difficult to implement thing, because it's built in. And it really does become a artistic vision versus most likely part of the legal situation as the reasons for not putting it in.
Yeah, I would never say that there is no component of it that was influenced by creative design. I mean, even just looking at the original trailer, I kind of had a similar thought. I was like, what would multiplayer even really necessarily enrich much here? It was when he said there was going to be PvP that I was more interested, because I was like, oh, that could actually be something. So I don't want to say, doubt what Craney says or anything, but I think it's much more likely that he just had to do this in order to make sure he could still develop the game. Which, I mean, if that is the case, props. Because if it gets the game out, and if it dodges all these copyright things, I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd do the exact same thing. Because my goal would be figuring out the best way to circumnavigate to make sure I can still actually release something that people will enjoy. And if I have to sacrifice some features to do it, that sucks. But it's for the greater good. It's for the greater good of people being able to enjoy the thing. You know what I mean? It's a sacrifice that I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the caveat comes in from, so why would you announce it to be multiplayer at all?
Yeah, especially in your debut trailer, where it is a main focus.
If he says in his post, there's a reason why the multiplayer has been very muted in the promotional material so far.
It
I'm
hasn't.
like, muted? It was in your trailer. The big word multiplayer,
Yeah.
and then gameplay of multiplayer, and then you discussed it further in the press interviews.
And one of your animations in the trailer was Tahu and Kopaka fighting.
Yeah, I mean, that was a cinematic, probably.
Okay, yeah, but come on. It's right after you showed off multiplayer. Here's the thing. The way I'm looking at this is it's kind of... It's Schrodinger's artistic decision. Because the way I'm seeing this response is very similar to the way that we all see how LEGO responded when asked how BIONICLE G2 did, sales-wise.
Oh, no.
Like, on Twitter, LEGO has said... Yeah, the BIONICLE G2 Steam did fine. It sold well, guys. Okay, it did well. To us, we don't think that's true because it got canned in a year and a half. We don't think it sold well. However, it could have totally sold well, and they shuttered it because they weren't willing to divert resources to BIONICLE G2. We probably will never know. However, it's one of those things where, does it sound ridiculous to us? Yeah. G2 sold well? Yeah, okay. However, they could be absolutely telling the truth. And we just think it's ridiculous because we're not willing to accept that as the truth, because that would mean BIONICLE sold well and still got closed. In this instance... I think
there's probably part of both that are true here.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah. And
he probably realized what he needed to do to get the game made available, and then realized, it's not so bad. I wasn't really happy with the multiplayer anyway.
It totally could have been the case.
And he's like rationalizing it. And I mean, he's right to do so. That's what I would have done. I do have a problem in the realm of constructive feedback. I wish that if multiplayer was on the chopping block, if you knew that it wasn't really working and you weren't really happy with it, and if you knew that your game was a Starcraft mod or running off the Starcraft engine, if you had done even the amount of research that anybody in the BIONICLE community did to find these clauses in Blizzard's policies, it seemed to be a pretty obvious deduction that it couldn't be put on the custom games arcade. It seemed like something that was very easily able to be determined, which would mean no multiplayer. I just envision an alternate universe where all this had been thought about, discussed internally, decided on before he launched the trailer, before he talked to like a dozen gaming websites, and just said, all right, I'm just not going to do multiplayer because I can't, and it's not really worth it anyway. Then people's hopes wouldn't have gotten raised. There wouldn't have been miscommunications about the game and where it could run and how it would run. And this literally would be a non-issue. It should have never made it to the trailer. And it definitely shouldn't have made it to media websites, because almost every single one of them touts multiplayer. And as Diggy points out in the chat, when he posted about the Metra engine, it was specifically said to be designed to be an engine for third-person multiplayer action games.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why you would design an engine to be made for multiplayer than design the game to not use the multiplayer. Yeah, I mean, it strikes me way more as something that needed to be done out of necessity than artistic license.
Yeah. Now, granted, again, it is very possible that there is a level of artistic integrity that he wanted to retain. That is entirely likely.
Half and half, probably. That's what I'd be willing to bet money. It was half
So-
and half.
So, as we said, we wanted it to be as constructive as possible and try and if Craney listens to this, which we hope he does, the takeaway here is, and for people who want to do projects like this in the future, the takeaway is to be careful about managing yours and your audience's expectations. That has to be done very carefully, especially for something as ambitious as this. And your audience, in this instance, isn't just the Bionicle community. It is a much larger, almost kind of nicher community of people who know Bionicle, who maybe grew up with Bionicle to an extent, but aren't part of the community, but are still active players of games. Like, they're still in a Bionicle community, but like they play games, they're still in communities, but they're not actively in the Bionicle community. But they're gonna, they come out of the woodwork for stuff like this. That is a much larger audience. That is now your audience, and you need to manage their expectations in two realms, game and Bionicle.
Basically, just imagine the scenario of the mainstream gaming outlets like PC Gamer, IGN, etc., reported on this game as Bionicle fan game with RPG with multiplayer. Craney's been working on it for 6 years. Must now, at some point, I guess they don't have to. They could just ignore it forever. But if they ever did want to report on the game again, it would be changed to Bionicle game made in Starcraft 2, needs Starcraft 2 to run, and also no multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
It paints kind of a sour note that could have been very easily avoided with just a bit of transparency. Because if you had just told people that's what the game was, you probably could have made the decision to cut multiplayer within a day if you hadn't already made it before you made the announcement through your own research. Now, again, it's not a knock. I want to make one thing clear. It's not a knock against the technical abilities. Sword even said it in the chat, and Kini said it as well. It's arguably more impressive that he made the game in StarCraft 2, purely from a technical perspective, having to work within the confines of that game, which is not designed for this genre, to make something this cool. I've seen people say, why would you sink all your time into learning how to make a game in another game instead of just learning how to use an engine like Unreal? And that's a fair point about learning a skill that could be more useful later on. But from a technical perspective, nobody's interested in devaluing the work of Craney because a lot of work went into this, and it shows. It's not anything worth being a jerk to him about or putting down his accomplishments, which I think is what he's probably afraid of people doing if they call it a mod. But that's not the intention. The intention is not to demean it. It's just about being precise with what it is, and it straddles a weird gray area. I know you have some thoughts on this, Kini, about the gray area.
Okay. So mileage may vary. My definition of a mod is, a short form is basically something that's within another game, right? Modification, right? You're modifying this game to make this other game or this or whatever, right? When Black Mesa was just a mod for Half-Life. Well, now that Black Mesa is its own game, it's now a standalone game. And this is where I think a lot of the frustration and a lot of the, just kind of, I don't want to call it anger or resentment or anything like that, but it's where a lot of the issue for people comes from with this game, is that Craney, specifically in the early days of the Quest for Mata Nui Discord server, called it a standalone game.
Yeah. And
Now,
we have a picture. of that.
I will put that picture up. It's kind of a story in multiple parts. It's a little awkwardly broken up. But if you look at it, it's like somebody asks a question, he responds to it, or he says one thing, somebody else says, what about this? And Craney said, well, okay, fair enough. I forgot about that. And again, this is not to paint a narrative that Craney intentionally misled people maliciously. Again, this is just to show these are things that he said. This is why we're bringing this up.
And people in the chat talking about open source. I just want to say real quick, I don't actually believe StarCraft 2 is open source.
No, it is not. So this is where part of the other half of the issue comes from. StarCraft / old Warcraft 3 are not traditionally open source. They come with editors, which are essentially the dev tools that Blizzard used to make the game in their engine, but it's not open source in the sense that you can edit anything in the actual engine. There are still hard constraints. What Craney is doing is taking those constraints that he's forced to work within and doing some very creative coding and some incredibly smart and like just high level brute forcing of the game in order to make what we're seeing in the trailers and in the gameplay. The issue comes from, and I will preface this by saying that Craney is German, so English is not his native language. So there is, to a certain extent, a language barrier that could explain away some of this, because, you know, never attribute that to maliciousness, which can be attributed to basically anything else. Part of the issue is, again, this whole standalone game versus mod thing. It's a weird fine line where it's not a mod in the way people would traditionally think of a mod, but it is definitely in no universe a standalone game. There is no .exe file. There is no playing this outside of the framework of starting StarCraft 2 from the BattleNet launcher. You're not going to be able to play this if you cannot play StarCraft 2. Okay? So Craney claiming that it's a standalone game is, you know, false. It is. But it can be explained by, as Meso stated, him not wanting to, you know, devalue the project that he's worked on. The most frustrating part of this is that, honestly, and like I genuinely think everybody should do this anyways, but just go, maybe don't download StarCraft 2, but at least do some research into the editor. Just get an appreciation for what Craney is actually doing, because this is not a situation where he is sitting down coding and, you know, building everything from the ground up like would be done in Unreal. He's doing a lot of, you know, building from the ground up, and he's doing a lot of things, but it's a very different situation. And if it's even taking 10-15 minutes to learn about that will give you a massive appreciation for the undertaking that this is, for the insanity that this is, because it's sheer insanity. 6 years or more than 6 years, whatever you want to call it, like, the people that are saying, why not just build it in Unreal? There is some validity to that. Craney is an incredibly talented and very skilled StarCraft 2 creator, which is why he didn't choose that route. You know, you use the tools that you know. But the problem is that when it comes to the community, you know, there's so many different levels of education and so many people not knowing what's going on or not really understanding how these things work, that even us saying, hey, you know, it's a little bit, you know, shady to not say that and to wait until, you know, an opportune moment, or to try and make it this kind of like open secret that people don't really understand. You know, it's not a good situation.
What's the old saying about perception being like 9/10 of the battle?
Yeah.
It's very applicable here.
So, and just kind of to back up some of what I'm saying, I did reach out to a guy who is in the QFNM server by name of Eljay, something along those lines. I'm assuming Alavis. Not Elvis, but Alavis. And he has been, by his own definition, he's been around the modding community for 10 years. Long enough that the novelty of modding in Starcraft has worn off for him. And I kind of reached out because I'm like, you know what? I understand that he has offered some help to Kini in the past. He's a knowledgeable guy. He knows what's kind of going on. And I wanted to get his sense of what the game actually was and kind of get some, authority behind clearing up the whole mod versus standalone thing. And basically what he said is, if you ask me, the game is a mod. It's a fantastic mod and probably one of the most ambitious, but it's still a mod. You need the base game to run it. There's a lot of loadedness with the word mod with gamers, to be fair, which is why he doesn't like the word, and I understand that, but he ought to embrace it. Standalone is sadly a lie unless he found a way to hack it, which would be known to the modding community tech experts, since they've found countless other exploits, and Kini is not a hacker. He goes on to say, I love people's armchair misconceptions on what the game's limits are. People pointing at camera work or jumping or UI being a fault with the engine, none of which are true. Bigger limits are the file size being limited to one or more .xml files called banks, the lack of true Z depth on the gameplay side of things, because gameplay is essentially 2.5D. Doom source mods are a very similar line of limitation that can be masked around and hidden. Kini's doing some very complex work with triggering within the engine and unloading and loading regions. The terrain itself can't be modified, but he doesn't actually use terrain in the traditional sense. Advanced lighting issues, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, for a guy who's been doing this for 10 years or who's been around the community, to sit there and say that Kini's work is impressive just makes it more impressive. Like, this is genuinely impressive. But, again, for the first, what are we at now? 4-6 weeks? Something like that? For people to be under the assumption that this is going to be a game that you download, you unzip onto your desktop, you click a little Quest for Mata Nui icon, and it loads up the game, that's not the case.
It's just not true.
It's
and
just
there's
not.
No reason why it should have ever been assumed to be true. IMO.
No.
Like,
and I think
the most... Sorry, go on.
Oh, I think, based on my, talking, my few conversations with Kini, my limited interaction with him, I think a big part of it is, as has been mentioned, the fact that he was worried about devaluing the game, the fact that he wanted to build hype. My personal main issue with that is the fact that basically, to say it's a standalone game, that there's nothing going on with it, et cetera, that you're going to be able to do whatever with it, was essentially a way to build hype. And I'd have zero issue with it. And I think the community at large would have zero issue with finding out that it was a mod later on, if it weren't for the fact that there was this massive push for media attention. There were interviews that were done that was never actually brought up. There was all this stuff done. And at the end of the day, Kini is, doing a lot of stuff that makes him, in essence, a game developer, but not a developer in the traditional sense that we would, associate game dev with, a game dev team with. And so there are some things that are just disingenuous. The multiplayer, we've been working on the multiplayer really hard. Well, you're not net coding. You don't have to worry about making the multiplayer work on a basic level. You have to worry about making the multiplayer work in your game. Otherwise, it works perfectly. You just you want to have 5 people playing this map and all of your triggers might get broken. Sure, the game might break, but the multiplayer aspect in and of itself will work flawlessly because it's Blizzard's multiplayer. The graphics engine, all the stuff that he's doing is basically tricking the existing engine and the things that it's designed not to do into doing those things. But the base work is still Blizzard's. All of those kind of things. So that's where, part of the issue comes from, is just, people don't necessarily understand that, and quite frankly, I don't blame Craney for not being in a rush to correct people on that either.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it. I understand why you wouldn't be eager to do it. But the most frustrating thing for me, and really, like, honestly, my number one takeaway from all this is it's a classic case of postponing the inevitable. And I don't really get why he chose to do it this way. Because this is something like, if he could have avoided ever talking about StarCraft at all, if he could have somehow passed off the StarCraft like code, as his own and released it, that would be scummy. That would be really bad. But it would have been like, at least then I could understand why he would keep it a secret, because he's trying to not let people know. This was known. He knew this was known. He had no intention of keeping this a secret from people. He had to tell people eventually, because you have to download StarCraft to run the game. So this was gonna come out, whether closer to launch or in like 2 months or in 3 months or in a year. It doesn't really matter. It was gonna be public knowledge. Why wait? What possible gain did he have to have by waiting? You can say you wanted to build up hype, but all he's done now is create anti-hype. It was temporary, like ethereal. It was like smoke in the wind. And now it's like it's put a stain on what otherwise is a flawless project.
Yeah, but
it's all people can talk about.
But let's be honest. This is a situation for now. This is a thing that people are concerned about now. This is a thing we're discussing now. This game is going to release. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to forget about this ever freaking happening.
Exactly.
So, to kind of bring it back, the thing to be learned from this is if you know that this is going to be a conversation later down the line, have that conversation sooner rather than later, and just be upfront about it. That's the thing.
Listen to Sensei Wu from Ninjago.
Oh, here we go.
Never put off until tomorrow what must be done today.
It's Knack and Jay, not Ninjago cast, Meso. Come on. So, again, this is an issue now, not because it's not really because of the fact that it is at risk for takedown. It's always at risk for takedown. It has always been at risk for takedown.
Now that he's cut the multiplayer, it circumvents the rule, the clause 3 concerns more or less. So it's about the same risk as it was before, for what that's worth. It's good.
Yeah. So the thing to be learned here is just be upfront. Be upfront with your audience. Be upfront more so with your team. Like, a lot of the team didn't know any of this. We got some comments from people on the video Ven made, a moderator saying, I had no idea. I understand some modelers didn't know. Some did, some did not. And I think this really, the lesson to learn here is just be honest about things.
Be yourself. Be honest.
No, maybe you don't need to be yourself, but you need to be honest. You just need
it's like,
to be
if this had come out from word go, I wouldn't have cared. I would literally, if you had swapped out this scenario in the very first reveal trailer, and it would have said like running in StarCraft 2 engine, and it just not even include the multiplayer bit, my hype would be unchanged because I never would have known what I'd be missing. If you had never promised multiplayer, people wouldn't feel like they lost it. And if you had just said from day one that it was a StarCraft mod or like made in the engine, nobody would have cared. Be just as excited. Give it a few months, people will still be just as excited because people will forget about this. It just sucks that that this happened at all. It sucks that it had to get to this point. And use that as advice for anybody. Like, it's kind of basic. you don't really need the TTV channel to give you, lesson on honesty 101. But if anybody out there does care about our input, there it is. Just don't be afraid to tell people what's what.
Yeah, because unfortunately, and again, this is the lesson to take away. This was a situation that was caused specifically because there was a delay. There was this reluctance to talk about this. There was a delay in being upfront with this information. This happened because of a lack of transparency. So, if there's anything else, if there's any other thing we might need to know, be good to get out of the way early. Just be upfront with it. Now, will this game survive this? Will this project survive this? Will this team survive this? Will Craney survive this? Absolutely. It's just, I get where Meso's coming from. It does tarnish the situation, but
People won't forget about it.
It's temporary. It's completely temporary. It will pass. So something else to keep in mind is do not let that deter you.
Don't let it deter you, and don't let it happen again, please.
Yeah.
But I understand, he's been around the block for a long time, but he is still new to something of this scale. He's new to this degree of scrutiny. I don't want to demonize people. Live and let live. I don't think people need to go on Craney witch hunts.
No.
He's trying his best to make a cool thing.
I saw something like in our YouTube live chat, somebody posted, "Crucify Craney." Like they were actually serious about, going after him because of the lack of multiplayer. I deleted that comment because it's a garbage thing to say. How dare you?
Oh boy. LJ going in.
No, I'm not. It's just don't be that guy. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. Because at the end of the day,
Craney's probably not happy about it either.
Yeah, I'm sure Craney's probably. Listen, I've said from word go, I'm so glad I'm not Craney. Just because the amount of scrutiny he must be under, the amount of pressure he is under, the amount of eyes on him right now, being the forward-facing face of this project, he is to this project what Greg Farshty was to BIONICLE. He gets all the flack for anything that goes wrong. Granted, in this instance, a lot of this flack is because of his decisions. However, he's still working on this project. He's not asking for any money. There is no reason to be upset about what you're going to get because you didn't pay for it. Like, you're getting what you're getting for the low price of nothing. No effort, no time on your part. You download 30 gigs of Starcraft and whatever files he puts up, and you're done. Is it disappointing to say there's no multiplayer right now? Absolutely. I was super excited to do a Let's Play TTV on Mata Nui and watch as Kini steals Liwa out from under me. That was going to be amazing. That was going to be fantastic. Will it not happen? Very likely. Will the game still come out? Will we still play it? Will we still have a really good time and still be in awe of all the hard work that's gone into it? Also, absolutely. So, Craney, if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, it would be appreciated, not just because we would appreciate you hearing us out, but because, it'd be nice to know that we're not just talking in a corner. Don't get discouraged. This is going to pass. You still have something amazing. This is not BNG. This is something much better than it ever was going to be, and that is inherent in its structure. You guys have already done so much. There's probably a lot more to go, but it can happen. So do not get discouraged by this. It's upsetting, and there are lessons to learn, but keep going. All right.
Yep. Kini, what are your thoughts on this? To send all this out on your side.
I don't know. You know what? I think that the handling of this thus far has been poor. I mean, generally speaking, I am not a fan of announcing projects before they are ready to go. Just because, we've seen so many fail. And I just feel like if Craney hadn't been so cagey when the information that it was in fact made in StarCraft 2 came out, we wouldn't have this issue. People wouldn't have a problem. Part of the concern is definitely that the caginess is masking something else. Craney is formerly worked with or for Blizzard on some of their Road to BlizzCon cinematics. He's a very talented cinematic artist. Like, I don't believe people when there's a few people that are claiming that, oh my God, he must have, modeled all of this and none of it's real. I don't believe that at all. But, I think the community as a whole is in a position where there's so much that's happened that has been negative, and the just fragile state of the community in general. When you have a project like this that brings people out of the woodwork to the tune of 9,000 plus people in a Discord server and a couple 100,000 views on a video within like 3 days, it's, it just sucks. And hopefully coming out the other side of this, Craney, takes a moment to understand that what he says has to, he's got to be careful about what he says and not be unintentionally or intentionally misleading on a project like this. So, I don't know. I'm so all over the place with this because there's so many layers to this. There's people who have no idea how StarCraft 2 works that are arguing that this is a standalone game because Craney has said so, which is just very specifically not the case. There's people out there that are on the complete other side of this that are saying, oh, he needs to apologize to everyone and email every news, media company that he went and had an interview with or reported on his game, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's necessary either. What I want is just for Craney to recognize that going forward, if he wants support, which this project, in order to make it come to fruition, desperately will need, that he has to acknowledge the game is not as cut and dried as he would like it to be. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
all I got.
much. Honestly, I think one of the most frustrating things, and I'm observing the Quest for Mata Nui server right now.
As am I.
I don't like how a lot of the discourse behind this whole situation basically boils down to Craney sucks. He's super dishonest. We can never trust a single word he says again, and we can't support the game. Or Craney is literally God and can do no wrong, and none of his actions have been negative at all, and he is perfect, and anyone who criticizes him is a man-child. I don't like how those are the two things. People don't seem to be capable in that server of walking the middle ground of being like, hey, people make mistakes. You hold people accountable so they can learn, not to make them feel like terrible people. Craney may not have killed my brother or murdered my dog, but he did either lie or tell half truths. And I just don't think it's good to encourage it. Likewise, I don't want the game canceled, and I don't want to discourage Craney's hard work. But people aren't capable of doing that, at least not in that server. It's it's going on literally right now. People is going back and forth, and It's maddening. It's maddening. But not everybody has the same maturity level. I respect that. A lot of people are still upset at multiplayer. A lot of people are of the age-old mentality of if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything, which may have worked in second grade but isn't really applicable in the real world. It's a common thing used to like dismiss critics of things, or people who view all criticism as like personal attacks. I detest it.
Yeah, that's like not everything is black and white. There is a gray. Craney is a person. We are people. We all make errors in judgment or mistakes or misspeak or say something that would not have been wise to have been said. It happens. Okay? You can't go around saying Craney is perfect, because that's not true, or that Craney is lowest of the low. That also isn't true. He's just a person. We're all just people. Like, don't idolize people that are like you that can make mistakes, because when they make mistakes, well, when they make a mistake and you don't like that mistake, you're gonna go from idolization to a completely retroactive souring of that human. And it's just, that's why you just take things in moderation. Remember that everyone is prone to error.
I don't like how quickly people can turn into like zealots. Like,
Yeah.
it's like people can be harsh and be very negative, and then people can then react poorly to that and then counter too much in the opposite direction. We've seen it time and time again with like discourse. The Last Jedi is such a good example of that. The Star Wars fandom when it comes to The Last Jedi. How you either fall into one of those two camps. Even I do. I'm definitely in the negative camp about the movie. But like at the same time, I don't say nobody can enjoy the movie. I don't think that you're not allowed to have preferences or opinions.
Yeah.
But then people will look at any criticism and they will counter and say, like, Rian Johnson is the best filmmaker ever. He is a visionary. I wish to model my life off of his subversion and use it as a guiding light for my future.
Much.
You can't just say, "Hey, I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it." You gotta overcompensate, and that's what people like. I'm gonna do with this. It sucks, man. But that's honestly about it. TBH. I don't really have much else to. I'm still excited for the game. I can't wait to play it.
Same.
I think forgive but don't forget is a good mantra here.
Yeah.
Because like once, it's not bad. If it ever happens again, well, you know that's a different matter. But hopefully it won't. You know.
Well, and I think the important thing to take away from the whole situation is not that the game's never going to happen. It's not that, oh my God, Craney's the worst. It's not that, oh my God, Craney's the best either. The important thing is that we need to be realistic. And I know behind closed doors, I have been that guy forever, especially in TTV, where it's like,
oh yeah,
don't like, let's not even talk about this. Let's be realistic kind of thing. But that's really all it is. You know what? We have the information now, right? A big part of the problem early on was that having us know that it was in StarCraft 2 and not know how to approach that without Craney confirming it. And well, now he's confirmed it. So now we can talk about it and we can actually like move forward with trying to make sure that all the bases are covered, that, you know, everybody is aware of the realities of the situation. Because honestly, we did a whole video about how there was zero chance the game was going to get taken down. Like zero. Like seriously, when we thought that this was just your regular, you know, fan game made in Unreal, there was zero chance, as long as he didn't take money, that Lego was going to shut it down. Now, it's not zero anymore, but we know that. We can go forward with that.
Pretty much. That was the biggest point. People are like, why do you care? It's like, well, because it changed the copyright discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It changed what had already been discussed. And now that he's got multiplayer, it's changed back in the other direction, back to unlikely. But what people got to understand is that it being in StarCraft 2 has been known for 3 weeks. Multiplayer being gone has been known for 1 day. So the reason people are a little antsy about this is because they've spent 3 weeks fearful for the state of the game. Bikini's right. Now we know everything. So we can go forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully with fewer controversies.
Yeah. Well, here's hope. But yeah, the takeaway here is things happen. People make poor choices. It's happened to everyone. We are no exception to that, obviously. Obviously. If it's not going to hurt anyone, then it's a poor choice and it can be discussed and it can be critiqued, but it's a lesson that can also be learned. And so Krini can learn, hey, next time, I'll be upfront with people. If anything else comes up that people should know, I'll let them know. We're going to continue making this game. It's going to be fantastic. No multiplayer for now. That's okay. No multiplayer for now. Maybe there will be some. Who knows? It's uncertain, but we know for sure the game will still happen. It will still be awesome. Gosh dang it, it's still going to be awesome. So, just be aware of it. Realize what's happening. But look forward to it, because it's still going to be great. And just keep your expectations in check. Make them realistic. Make them reasonable. Come at this with as much skepticism as you would anything else. But honestly, and like, I think everyone is well aware how critical I can be of people and things. Especially when it comes to promising things and causing people to have expectations of things.
Oh, yeah.
Cough, cough, cough.
Understatement.
Christian Faber.
Hashtag BioVival. Go check out his latest
Shut
tweet.
up.
Understatement.
Man, we need to unite behind Krini with hope that everything will go well and not be mad that he made a game. Yeah,
There we go. So yeah,
there's been some funny comments.
that's the thing. Like right now, we know what's going on. We understand. We're all on the same page now. Krini, if you listen to
LJ.
this, what?
I'm not on the same page.
What?
But finish your statement. I'll tell you. Krini.
All right. Krini, if you're listening to this, hopefully there is something you can take away from it. And anyone else who is maybe critical of Krini right now, who is maybe concerned about the game, just continue to support it. Continue to support his efforts. This isn't something I say lightly, given that, it's like Christian Faber. You can support Christian Faber, but I don't think anything Bionicle is going to happen with him. Just going to put that out there. I've said this time and time again.
Yeah.
But with Krini, I think there's an actual something here. It's going to be awesome. So, look forward to it. Look forward to it. There's no reason to demonize him at all. He made a mistake. He made a poor choice in words, and that's it.
Likewise, don't treat him like he's perfect, because nobody is. And when you treat people like they're perfect, it blinds you to being able to actually look at people's actions.
Yeah.
The reality is that humans are complex creatures, and sometimes we'll make mistakes, and that's just life. Do not put people on a pedestal that they can never possibly meet, because eventually they will disappoint you if you do that.
Yes.
I know we're getting a little philosophical about our toy line community, but like, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
People do it no matter the subject matter, and gotta grow up. That's all I'll say.
Yep, exactly.
Now, LJ, everything you just said is false, and your message is not actually real because you made Biocraft.
Gosh dang it, I was just looking at that picture. We
got the funniest comment.
Here. Well,
we got the actual funniest comment.
Let me put this up on screen. I gotta, okay, here we go. Yeah, so...
Well, we didn't get it. It was on mask posting.
No, I have it. I have my blurred one, though. Or my my censored one, because, I don't want to put anyone publicly on blast, because we do have a large platform, and that would be incredibly cruel. Now, what this comment is not cruel. It is, however, stupid. Since I'm talking about an anonymous person here, anonymous fellow, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Listen,
Based LJ over here.
it's not because this person doesn't like BioCraft. I am fully well aware BioCraft is not for everyone. It just is not. It is there's a select type of person that's going to like BioCraft. Thankfully, that is a lot of people. BioCraft is not for everyone. It's also something that didn't meet people's expectations. Like, people expected something very different than what it was. We are super happy with BioCraft. I am super happy with BioCraft. I think it's one of my favorite things we've ever done. But I also 100% understand why people would not like it. Totally get it. Just because you didn't like it, though, does not mean that we cannot comment on other projects.
No matter how bad it is, it will never be as disappointing as BioCraft.
It's like,
spent 8 years doing nothing. The entire film is a scripted RP server chat made in a couple weeks. The channel still dares to critique the efforts of others. That's a yikes from me, dog. It's their own Lightbringer, whatever that is.
I don't know what Lightbringer is. I have no idea what that is. But the thing is, it's like, first of all, as if we didn't spend those weeks, like, there were filming days where we were working for 10 hours, bridging into 13, like a day. Like, the patrons who are so kind and generous to work with us, they can attest to this. We spent full-time hours working on BioCraft. The script was made in 5 days, but that doesn't mean we didn't put effort into it. I spent hours every day working on it. We put legitimate effort into that project, like, to the point where, I've said this before, I was falling asleep at my desk because of how little sleep I was getting working on the project. And that's the level of work that the others are putting into it too. Just actual genuine effort. Even if it had
never
been
around, but the private server has never been as busy and will likely never be busier than that month.
Yeah. But here's the takeaway. Even if BioCraft had been terrible, even if everybody had hated it, that is absolutely no excuse. That doesn't bar us from commentary. That doesn't prevent us from talking about something. What you're trying to suggest is argument from authority. It's a logical fallacy. It's an argumentative fallacy. Like, are we not allowed to critique Lego sets because we're not set designers? Of course not. Are we not allowed to decide something tastes bad, though we're not chefs? Of course not. Are we not allowed to critique a film, a way we spend our time, because we are not, well, I guess we are filmmakers. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, what it comes down to is, if you take that argument to its logical conclusion, then the only people that are allowed to critique anything are, by definition, the most successful examples of people in what they're critiquing, which means, like, I don't know, Jeff Bezos is the only one who's allowed to critique any businesses, and Bill Gates is the only one who's allowed to critique any tech company, and, you know,
it's just a bad mentality.
Like,
people were doing it like 10 minutes ago in the Quest for Mata Nui server. It went hand in hand with the other thing I was talking about. They were like, nobody can criticize Kini unless they've made a game too. I'm like, bruh, well, about that.
No.
But and not only that, but let's take a step back. And this is what I think the main takeaway from this should be. Anybody who's, like, super into this game right now, the takeaway has to be, let's take a step back. Let's remember, Kini has made something that's incredible, but it ain't done yet. And until it's done, everything's up in the air.
Yeah. Most
literally everything is up in the air.
I think all of his update videos have been preceded by work in progress.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, Meso. I'm glad we can talk about this very quickly. I don't remember this person's name. I don't want to give them a name for two reasons. First and foremost, it is I do not want them to be harassed. I don't think anyone would harass this person, but I can't control people's actions, and I think that there's a potential for it, and that's not a good thing. Under no circumstances is that an appropriate thing to do. You shouldn't harass someone. Like, especially if your takeaway from this video is, I'm going to harass Craney because he said something that ended up being incorrect. Get out. Go away. I don't want you watching our videos. That's not the takeaway.
You didn't listen to a word we said.
Yeah,
so.
Not at all.
If you watched 2 hours and didn't listen to a single word, that's pretty impressive. But not impressive enough to want your viewership.
Yeah, exactly. The other reason is I do not want people with these opinions gaining a platform. Like, I don't want any notoriety going to a name attached to this. Is it possible that they were joking and that we're not picking up on it? Totally. In that case, egg on our face, our bad. You got us. If that is, I want to give the benefit of the doubt. All the time, I want to give the benefit of the doubt. So if it is a goof, you got us. You can continue living your life knowing that you pulled the wool over our eyes and got us to. You got us. No, I mean it seriously. However, if that's not the case, this is dumb, and that's it. That's all I can say about it. It's like, give me a break.
All right.
So,
well, in that case, we are going to move out of this realm of discussion. And if anybody has any questions, fire away.
Yes,
for
please.
me, LJ, about the game, not about the game.
For Kini.
Kini, yeah, he's here. How are you doing, Kini? Are you feeling any better?
Remains to be seen. Well, I don't want to die anymore, so that's good.
Question with Kini.
A valid
Not
question.
Important.
Well,
he
pass.
Kini is our expert because he was stuck in a basement for a long time playing Starcraft.
I forgot about that.
The meme returns. Price of a pencil.
Yep. This is why the price for a pencil existed. Real quick, I did want to point out this comment that is really swell. I like this. Jathru Cranley posted in the YouTube comments. My brothers and I, who are fans from years back, used Biocraft as one of our main means of introducing our younger sister to the theme. The humor really got her into it. That is awesome. I'm so glad. That's fantastic.
That's great, man. I love it.
I hope you can hear it in my voice while I'm smiling. That's wonderful. Siwis Incorporated in YouTube chat asks, LJ, sorry, different topic. No, you're good now. Knack and J16 isn't public yet. Where is it? I didn't get to watch the live stream.
Oh, no! Did I forget?
Meso!
I thought I scheduled it. I thought I scheduled it for the AM.
Well, let me check, because I'm in the channel right now.
I mean, I doubt it. If it's not public, I'm sure I goofed.
Well, let's find out.
It should have gone up. It should have gone up the morning after.
No, it's not scheduled at all.
No!
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
All right, everyone. Remember what we just discussed? It's all out the window now. Vilify him.
That's why, because I've been trying to stop with the whole don't make them public thing, because there's no reason to. I just don't like making videos public at 10 p.m. So I usually just schedule them for the next day. I will remedy that.
Oh man, yeah. LJ, Odd Glorfindel in the chat asks, would you ever consider a sequel to Biocraft Chronicles? I feel like you're uniquely, able to answer this.
No comment. Get the camera and microphone out of my face.
We have nothing to announce at this time.
But
let's see.
I'm trying to figure something out here.
Question: assuming Brick Fair Virginia isn't canceled due to COVID, is TTV planning to go in any capacity?
Who is this question by, Mess?
That is by Wombat Combat Productions.
Thank you.
I will not be, even if it is not canceled, just because. I mean, there's tons of places in the country right now that are like, weighing pros and cons, opening, reopening, economy, etc. But I still don't think it's a good idea to overextend past what is necessary. And unfortunately, as fun as Brick Fair is, I wouldn't consider it necessary. So I personally won't be going, even if it does happen this year. Next year, though, I will be going.
So right now, the only one that is locked down to go in TTV is me. And as much as I do agree with Meso, I also I don't know. I'm undecided. I'll say, like, I will go if it's a go, depending on a few different factors. But I can also see myself going. I'm not gonna risk it for the biscuit, and staying home. So it's really gonna depend on some factors. So I won't say yes, but I also won't say no yet. We're gonna have to wait and see. It's too soon.
I hear that.
I'm Canadian, so it's unlikely that I'll legally be allowed to go to Brick Fair again, even if I wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's true. The moral of the story is, last year, we did it. We made it, and that was why it was last year that it had to happen. All being there.
Do us definitely.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Yeah, I really want to wait and see if they even have it. Real quick.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Another comment from Swiss Incorporated. LJ, I'm the Joe Exotic voice Liwa guy from April 10th, or from the April 10th episode. I hope that comment didn't offend you. My apologies. I meant it as a joke. No, you're fine. It's friggin' hilarious. No offense taken whatsoever. I'm Joe Exotic. This is my farm of Milwaukee. It's cool. Liwa Exotic. There we go. Continue.
Okay. Sean Pajit, you guys make great points, but I genuinely thought it'd be something new, and I feel like from what I got from this, it's a fancier version of the Skyrim mod. The difference in that comes from the fact that the Skyrim mod is playing Skyrim, but with Bionicle characters. Like, you essentially just reskin the stuff. It's not like the Skyrim mod told the Bionicle story. You know what I mean? It was mainly the appeal of wandering around a big world as a Toa, finding masks. This game, like StarCraft 2, correct me if I'm wrong, Kini, isn't an over-the-shoulder third-person action combat game.
It is a real-time strategy game.
Yeah, it's a top-down real-time strategy game, and it's not like we're going to be playing the story of StarCraft as a Toa. He has the Bionicle story in here, complete with Bionicle cinematics, Bionicle quests, Bionicle characters, dialogue options, etc. This is a game. This is not a mod in that sense. It's not like you're playing the game just reskinned. There is a level of customizability here. There is uniqueness here. There is originality here. Just want to clarify that.
It's part of why there's such a gray area between calling it a mod and calling it a standalone game, because I mean, the long and short of it is, I've seen some people, and actually we have Connor in the chat going like, oh, I thought it was going to be a total conversion. That's actually not possible. Like, boy. StarCraft, the editor exists to allow you to create your own game within. As far as I'm aware, the only complete overhaul... Oh, he was talking about the Skyrim mod. Never mind. Basically, there's only one StarCraft complete overhaul that I know of, and it basically just added in everything from StarCraft 1 into StarCraft 2, so it was still the same game. This is like a weird gray area between what the Skyrim mod ended up being and what the Skyrim mod would have been in a perfect world, which is to say, like, it would have told the whole story and it would have done everything. But once that's all, once it's all cleared out, basically you are downloading a game, in the sense that it's a game you play within another game. It's kind of like having a think Mario Party, where they have those games within the game kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's very much that way. So if you know nothing about StarCraft 2, it's very off-putting to learn how it's going to work, especially if you were expecting to unzip a folder onto
Brand
your
new game.
desktop and click an .exe file and start the game. But it's not a mod in the traditional sense either. So, like, honestly, if you're coming out the other side of this video and you're still kind of confused on what this is actually going to do, honestly, the only advice I can give to you is just type in StarCraft 2 custom game into YouTube and see the stuff that people have made, because it's taking a strategy game, an RTS top down, and people have made, Gattaca. People have made, actual Mario Party type games. People have made so many different games. As I said before, Dota originated in this kind of way. So, just kind of do a little bit of looking into it, see if you can still be hyped for it, because I understand people have reservations just because Blizzard is involved as well. But
I guarantee if you were hyped for this game, based on the merits of that gameplay trailer, you're still going to get everything you were hyped for in this game, except for multiplayer.
Yeah, you like, this isn't going to change the way the game plays. It's not going to change the way that the game feels from what Kini has shown. What it does change, though, is how you access the game. What it might change is there are some very high-level scripts designed to link progress in certain maps to your Battle.net account. I don't know how Kini is managing that, but basically it means that, saving and loading might not be as simple as, we would expect it to be in a standalone game. Things will be weird. There'll be, things to work out, and Kini's aware of all these things, so I trust that he'll get them right. But yeah, honestly, at the point that we're at now, knowing that it's StarCraft and now that it's public, is, if you're confused, just, it's 5 minutes of research to figure out how it's going to work, because it's not a secret how these things are going to actually handle.
Yeah. But I understand the confusion, because that's what we were feeling ourselves. It took a while before those of us who aren't as knowledgeable were able to get on board and be like, okay, so this is what it's going to be like. Got it.
Well, I remember appearing in the chat the day that the news broke in our private chat, and people going off.
Yeah. It took a while.
So honestly, if you're confused, just do some of the research yourself. I know it's kind of horrible to say that. You're here to learn, but there's no substitute for doing your own research.
Mm-hmm. True enough. Anonymous Sour Cream. Meso, I noticed your salt towards AM2R last episode. But have you played Samus Returns yet? Did I have salt towards AM2R?
You had salt about the situation.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about AM2R. The dude released the game. The dude worked on the game for like 5 years. He released the game, and then Nintendo cease and desisted him and was like, okay, you can't work on this anymore. And I was very upset about that, because he had planned updates. But at the same time, the game came out. It was done. It wasn't like a beta. It wasn't like an alpha test. It was done, start to finish. So any of the extra stuff that he was going to add would have been fluff, and it was added anyway by other people later on. So everything I wanted from that game came out. As far as Samus Returns goes, I played it. I liked it. AM2R was better. Samus Returns was very streamlined, but it was still a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. Flamingo Creations, kind of off topic, but do you think in Bionicle canon the Mata can switch their weaponed arms with their main arms, like Liwa's axe from his right to the left side? Why would they want to do that?
I think they had the opportunity upon coming out of the canister. Once they completed themselves again, no. They can toss their
Fair
weapon
enough.
to the other hand, but that's about it. Also, Jathru Cranley added this. The real bad news Craney's hiding is that he hired Liwa's voice actor from the 2003 game. That happens, he is a dead man to me.
But that voice actor's so good.
That's it. I will have no more excitement for the game. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
No more Mr. Nice Elf.
Listen, I think when it comes to Liwa voice actors, I like Dale Wilson as a person and as a voice actor. I just don't think he's a very good Liwa, but that's not his fault. Jeff Hughes, I think, actually was a reasonable Liwa. However, he really got shafted by the scripting and the direction. And then there's the guy from Bionicle the game who just categorically did not work. I don't know who it is. He's never credited, but no.
Bruh. Bionicle Forever. Question. Is the Bionicle Lego Ideas set coming out? Answer. We don't know. We all speculated it would be this month, but it's probably been delayed due to the virus. Maybe it'll be next month. We'll see.
What will be next month?
The Bionicle Ideas set announcement, whether it's getting made or not.
Yeah.
We'll know that at some point during the summer, hopefully.
I swear to God, if it doesn't get made, I will actually cry.
He's serious. He'll do it. He's crazy.
It's the only Lego set I've seen in 5 years I want.
And yeah, no, hearing Kini, he means.
Classic games guy. What do you think a Bionicle VR game would look like? Just wanted to lighten the mood. I mean, it'd probably look like Bionicle, but in VR. You'd probably walk around.
MNOG VR.
You'd probably walk around. You'd probably see things in VR. Like I don't know.
Hey, hold on. We've been talking about Lego Fan Project video games this whole time. Oh my God! Somebody make MNOG in VR. I will love you forever.
That would
That'd
be
be
pretty
cool.
cool.
Do it.
It'd be pretty neat.
That'd be awesome. Also, Ibrahim Habib says in the YouTube chat, I've always thought Eljay would make a good Liwa. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course you hear the one compliment that you get over the
Listen,
entire
it's
video.
because the other comment is by friggin' Kyler Nuva, who has risen from the dead to say, bring back Dale Wilson for Liwa just to trash over Eljay. Well, you know what? You can go back to the grave, pal.
Nah, you can stay. You can stay, Kyler. It's okay.
No, don't listen to him. One of us tells lies, the other tells the truth.
Yeah,
Julian the Metal.
The one
Julian
who
the
lies
Metal
is-
Roar. Will the game have love as canon? Probably not.
I
Probably not.
only for memes.
No.
Jake Stowell, guys, I have 2 questions. One, what happened to top 10 TTV moments of 2019?
Yeah, it's still going. Thanks, Kyler. It's still gonna happen. I've honestly been busy because I'm the one who has to do it, and I've genuinely
Has been doing the remixed reviews.
yeah, like for instance, I've only managed to clean more Bionicle sets last night for the 06 remixed review. Like,
Oh boy.
I've been so busy with other things. It's been very difficult for me to find time for the remixed review, which is still happening, of course. I'm not worried. But I haven't had time for the other video. There are a lot of videos I want and need to make. I just haven't had the opportunity.
And then second, can you guys give me some reasons why Bionicle's better than HF? Because my brother thinks HF's better than Bionicle. I got nothing for you, dude. HF's better in every way. I'm sorry to say, but your bro's right.
Oh my gosh, of course you'd say that.
Go to him and be like, I'm sorry.
2001. That's all I got, because that's the only thing that's arguably actually better.
Whoa.
Your mileage is just gonna vary. I really couldn't give you. I'm biased to Bionicle, so I can only speak in defense of it. But your mileage is gonna vary. It depends on what you want to get out of HF or Bionicle. So I couldn't tell you.
Like if you're looking for things, it's like the story is obviously better.
Yeah.
It had movies. HF had shows.
Yeah.
Bionicle had better games. Bionicle had more complex sets.
Yeah. Well. I know.
There are things.
There are things, but I think HF, its strength lies in its potential, unfortunately.
Yep.
Like, it had a lot of world-building potential. So you can, if you wanted to play in the world of HF, you wanted to expand it, sky is the limit. It had a lot of good world building for that. Bionicle also had a lot of great world building that just did a more cohesive job of it than HF did.
True enough.
So, it depends on what you want out of it.
I think.
Well,
Almost done.
A few more. Sean Pajit said. So he's had a question. Is there any way, Knack and Jay? Is there any way to Zoom with you? But then he had this question going. He had this comment. David Tennant for Liwa and LJ for Mata or Kongu. There is absolutely a way to Zoom with us, and you will never know it now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We have a Zoom account? Question mark?
No, we don't. There is no way to Zoom with it. In fact, I've only used Zoom once, so.
But, yeah, basically. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to us, you can join our Patreon server on Discord, and you can, maybe not on voice call, but you can chat with us. You can listen to our podcast live. You can talk to us in TTV message boards. Like, we got ways.
Well, you can talk to me. Messa never goes there.
Accurate.
Yeah. But no, I'm
I think that's all.
Yeah.
I think that's the last of our questions.
Hold on. We got one. He's been asking like 7 times. Of all the Bionicle fan projects over the years, which one is your favorite, excluding ones that you worked on? Ones that were left unfinished are allowed.
Oh, and who asked that?
That was Sir Lojan.
Oh, okay. And then also real quick, Julian the Meta Roar, repost your question, because I know you've been asking for a answer. But I don't know where your question is, so go ahead and repost it. So, excluding projects that I've worked on. Yeah.
Prentice, if you exclude ones TTV worked on, that excludes all of them.
Honestly, though.
It does exclude a lot that I would call my favorite.
Majority.
Yeah, I mean, I have an answer. It's something that I worked on very technically. I was a cameo voice line in it, so I guess it doesn't count. But by far and above, Okoto Origins by Mata Nui Legacy is without a doubt my favorite fan project ever of all time. Simply because of how, like, seemingly effortlessly they were able to salvage the tone and atmosphere of Bionicle G2 and turn it into something cool, literally in just like a stop motion, but with movie level VFX.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was honestly crazy what they were able to accomplish, and I hope that one day he releases the next episode.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with that one too, but I guess only the first 2 episodes would qualify. So who knows? Nice. I'd like to see more from him as well. Let me see. Okay, Julian the Meta Roar asked, "Do you?" Oh, okay, you already asked this, I guess.
Yeah, I read that out.
Yeah, love and
The answer is no.
no. No.
It will not be.
Cranny.
I'm
No. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Cranny's outright said he wants to keep things to like the lore of Bionicle and how they were. He doesn't really want to change things too much. So if at all, so yeah.
We're gonna make these rapid fire real fast. 2 more. Wilson Cat asked and has been asking us, would TTV open a bakery? We have no intention of opening a bakery.
I like baking, but I won't open a bakery.
I'm getting myself a sourdough starter ASAP, so stay tuned.
Maybe
Kini Bakery Gang?
Yeah, man. I will just do all the things.
Oh, so I'm seeing we have like a fudge ton of comments from someone, and they all got they're all hidden because they're all just awfully disgusting. Oh my god!
Oh! Whoa!
All right, well, yikes.
Sir Perry just gave a super chat of $100.
Wow.
Thank you. He says, I feel like the director of Quest for Mata Nui killed his passion project with the announcement of the game running on the Starcraft 2 engine, and with Blizzard's harsh copyright on fan projects, fan mods, it's easy to see why he's getting hate in massive quotations. Well, that is a take. Yeah. I'm a little stunned by like the donation.
Same.
Like,
Are you sure about that number? Did you accidentally hit an extra 0?
If it was a mistake, we can help you out. We'll correct that error. Like,
none of us deserve. I mean, what?
Listen, Kini.
LJ doesn't deserve that.
Okay, listen here.
Here's the thing.
I'm about to have an axe to beat you with.
I get why it would have that effect on people. That's kind of the point of my frustration, is how it would be like it could be very easily avoided. So I understand it. However, again, it sucks that multiplayer had to be sacrificed because I think it was avoidable by just not promising multiplayer. But based on everything you said, I don't really think we have to worry about the copyright anymore. Simply because if it's not on the custom games, page, if it's more of an offline thing, it doesn't really fall into Blizzard's domain. It doesn't fall under Clause 3 because that only applies to stuff that's up for custom games. It would seemingly skate around any and all copyright issues. The only thing would be if LEGO decides to take it down, which go refer to our last episode. We don't believe that LEGO will take it down. Now, making people understand that, obviously, is another matter. That's why we've been so annoyed about it over the last few weeks, is because we're trying to figure this all out behind the scenes. We're trying to reevaluate whether or not what we said before actually holds true. And the fact that he's not disclosing everything makes it really hard to do that. So I understand, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
I think the game will be all right.
This won't kill it. This really won't. And even if it does hamper some of the excitement, persevere. It's just you really gotta stick with it as much as you can, and because it doesn't do any good to bring it down. So
pretty much.
Yeah, but also again, if that was a mistake, if you meant it to be $1 or $10, just contact us. We're not gonna be jerks. So just let us know.
We're still getting comments from this individual. One of them slipped through, so I'm gonna read it. I won't stop until you delete all your vids.
Oh, okay. No,
coming right up. Coming right up. Let me just get right on.
Hey! You stop that,
bruh. All right, Mass.
LJ, I'm gonna need you to check your phone.
Hey,
you log into the YouTube.
Hey, I checked my phone. Is this you? No, it's not.
all of these comments are great. I love them all.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna ban that guy.
third irrelevant guy.
My favorite.
Excuse me, I am the most irrelevant guy. You will use my proper title.
My favorite Toa team is Team Stupid Adult who talk about it toys that don't even get made anymore.
If we look like Toa heroes, and we are Toa heroes. What are you talking?
I love it.
All right, but sorry, if you are going to be that rude and disrespectful, because there are some comments that the public aren't seeing that YouTube has withheld. We will not tolerate that. Thank you. Thank you for watching. But
we did acknowledge you in the end. Farewell.
Yeah, it's okay. now it's okay though. This time we won't shadow ban you. We will just outright ban you.
We will actually. All right. Squirt raises a good point. My actual favorite fan project is Bionicle Revolution. And on that note,
yeah, and also Sir Perry confirmed it was intentional. Well, from all of us, you have our immense and eternal gratitude. I understand. I believe you're a patron as well, and we do sincerely mean it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett.
And especially because recently, it's been very stressful as of late, especially over the last couple of months. Sir Perry said
No, you're cut off, Perry. Both you and LJ are cut off. No.
What did I do?
Stop to this. Yeah, I just wanted to cut you off.
What? What? He did send another $2. I meant to send 100. So thank you.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's definitely appreciated, especially since over the last couple of months we've been trying to facilitate the canon contests, and obviously we signed up for it, so I'm not complaining. I'm not trying to say, oh, pity us, but it has definitely been one of the more intricate challenges we have undertaken.
It's been a very stressful few months.
Actually, my normally I'm pretty good about getting sleep and going to work. Work became my break from dealing with the contest stuff. I'm a 911 dispatcher, and that was my relief from dealing with the contest.
That's pretty funny, dude.
I'm not being hyperbolic there. That was how I was looking at it. It's like, oh, thank goodness I'm here. 911, what's going on? Oh, this is so relaxing. Yeah, it's like,
I forgot earlier my actual because I worked on Metro Nui Legacy. My favorite fan project that I haven't worked on is Reviving Bionicle.
Oh shoot! How did I forget? Suddenly Oranges has been here. Yes, no, absolutely. That is far and above one of my favorite projects. I'll just say I did work on Okoda Origins. Just the capacity never was announced by choice, and I don't know if it would be released to be properly announced. So I was there. But yes, no, Reviving Bionicle is amazing. Suddenly Oranges he's awesome. He's
never gets old. That's serious. It never gets old.
Yeah, and even that he has his Halo videos as well. It's he's such a prolific person. He recently got his, I think it's silver subscriber button from YouTube because he hit 100,000. And
oh yeah,
it's so unbelievably well deserved and well earned. Suddenly Oranges is just he's great. He's awesome. So
all right,
Reviving Bionicle is fantastic. It's, if you're getting into Bionicle and you're getting into the community, go through the story first, and then there's a handful of Bionicle videos in the community that I consider required viewing. All of Reviving Bionicle, in my opinion, is required viewing. It's just outstanding. So, sorry, that's I needed to gush for a moment because you just reminded me of that. It's like, whoa.
I get you. I do believe we've reached our end.
Yes.
It is over. We are done.
Does it mean I can finally get off this beach?
Yes. You can get off this beach.
Hopefully you got a good tan from it.
It's rough. Of course. Gets everywhere.
Okay, that's it.
Stop. How are you doing, Kini?
I'm surviving.
All right.
Be that
Well,
and then you won't be.
Okay, so
Fair
thank you
enough.
all so much for watching. Hopefully you all
Yes.
enjoyed. Hopefully you got there was something to take away from all of this. Thank you to everyone who commented and I can't, Meso, you need to
Sir Perry, $5. Meso, who said the $100 was for you? That was for Eljay. Bro!
Wait, does that mean the $100 is for LJ and then the 5 is for me and the 2 is for Meso? Because that would be everything going
What
right.
the fuck?
What? This is just how the way things go.
I'll take my 2 candy bars and go cry in a corner.
No.
The fact that you can buy 2 candy bars with $2 is what's really impressive here.
Again, thank you so much. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. A special thanks to everyone who joined us. A thanks to Kini for his work on his project, and hopefully anyone that works with him on his team or him, if you listen to this, hopefully this was constructive. Hopefully this was uplifting to some degree. Hopefully this was positive. Hopefully there was something you got to take away from with this. Thank you to everyone who showed up and partook in the conversation and listened and has been polite. We appreciate it. Of course, a super special thanks to Sir Perry. It is immensely appreciated. We are incredibly grateful for your patronage and these donations.
And Suddenly Orange said, thanks, guys.
And thank you to Suddenly Oranges for thanks, guys.
Orange man.
But thank you all.
Suddenly there were oranges in the chat.
And of course, again, thanks to our patrons. Do I have the Patreon list on this? I don't know if I do. I have the chat, but I don't think I have
believe so.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff to fit in here, so it can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
But thank you, of course, to our patrons. Obviously, we are grateful for your patronage as well, and hopefully, it's worth it to you guys. We do hope so. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
We're gonna go and wrap up.
and play the music.
No.
Or do the plug.
Do the plugs.
All right.
All right. Head on over to TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. We've got a bunch of stuff that's really fun to do over there. You have to be 13 years or older and read the rules. We're currently gearing up for the Bionicle Canonization Contest starting on June 1st with the Helrix Contest. Additionally, the LEGO author Greg Farshty is over there answering questions, so definitely check that out. Finally, additionally, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/the channel. Low as $1 a month, and you can join our Patreon chat. A lot of fun things happen here as well. Additionally, our Minecraft server, which is included in that $1, where you can join on the island of Mata Nui, and the island of Voyanui, and many more to come. Head on over to our Twitter at the TTV channel, at Mesonac, and at the LJ Johnson, JOHNSEN. And finally, make sure to check out our video on BioCup 2020. It is a Bionicle construction community contest. It is going to be a blast. It started on the 12th, so definitely go check that out. It's on Flickr. Join in, get your mocking hands ready, because it's going to be a fun time for all involved. Test your mocking skills, and have a good time.
And be sure to check out #BioVival on Christian Favor's
Meso?
Instagram.
You stop that.
No, you're done. You're cut off.
It's the plug that matters.
Okay.
Maybe if I plug Christian Favor, I'll get money.
All right.
I can't even laugh at that.
Here we go. Let's start the music.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'm Meso.
I'm LJ.
And streaming to you from a golden beach, this was Knack and Jay.